Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're doing good today. Well, you're never going to guess what I'm doing now. Last winter, I found a variety of tomatoes in a seed catalog that claimed you could grow a 5-pound tomato. Well, I got to try that. You got to try it. And so I'm going to talk today about the variety that I bought and 3 things that you really have to do if you want to grow a big tomato. And one of them I've never done before. It's going to be just specific to what I'm trying to do now. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the variety I'm talking about is called Big Zack. And I seen it in a seed catalog this winter, and it was kind of peculiar in a way because it's a hybrid, but it's an indeterminate. And usually I associate an indeterminate with an heirloom, and a hybrid would be more of a determinate. But I don't know, every variety of tomato, but that kind of stuck out to me. And if you read up on them, there are people that have said they've actually grown up to a 6-pound tomato, but I would love to grow a 5-pounder off of one of these. Now, the first thing that I have to take into consideration here is I need a big plant. In order to have a big tomato, obviously you got to have a big plant. And a lot of what I'm talking about today is really going to apply to if you want to try like a mortgage lifter or a beef master or something. I just got to take this to a little bit more of an extreme. And so the first thing that I did last fall, before I even knew that these existed, the last couple years, the way I have got ready to plant my tomatoes, I got a gas-powered auger, and I drill about a 1-foot deep hole that's 8 inches in diameter, and I fill that up with rabbit manure that has, alfalfa pellets in it that I get from underneath my rabbit cages. Now this year I tried something a little bit different. I always like trying something different. This row here, I used very well-aged chicken manure because I just wanted to see how it worked compared to the rabbit manure that I used on the rest of my rows. And so I'm kind of interested in that. But that should give me more than enough nutrients. I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years now, and I've grown some pretty big tomatoes. So I think I'm okay there. Now, the next thing that I got to look at is I want this plant to focus on growing. And so these blooms here, I've been pinching them off. And I just don't want any blooms. I don't want it to even think about growing a tomato until this gets bigger and more size. The stems, I want a nice big fat stem on there, where them nutrients can get up. And I just want the plant to be nice and big. Now, I have grown heirlooms in the past, and I believe one of them was a mortgage lifter where I never pulled one sucker. And it turned out just fine, but for this here, I'm going to get rid of every sucker I can find. I don't want any of them. I want to really try to limit the amount of tomatoes that I'm going to grow. And that's why I'm only going to do this with just 2 or 3 plants. The rest of them, I'm not going to mess with this because, I actually want quantity over size for everything else. But this is just a challenge here. And so I'm going to take the blooms off, I'm going to take the suckers off, and I want this plant to get nice and big. Now let's talk about the next thing that I have to do to make this a success. All right, so before I get into the second thing, if you watch this video and you like it and you find value in it, please consider subscribing. I would appreciate it. And as always, it is free. Now, the second issue that I'm going to have has to do with this. And with all tomatoes, it really doesn't matter, but bigger ones, you have a couple things that you have to worry about. And so with these being even bigger than anything I've ever grown, I'm really going to have to watch this. And so with watering, there's two issues that I'm really going to have to pay attention to. And one of them is blossom end rot. Now, that is a calcium deficiency, but I feel like it's more of a watering issue. And so a while back, I made a video on how calcium actually gets up into your plant. But keeping good water, a good constant supply of water to your plant is going to help with that blossom end rot. Now, I used ground egg shells that I ran through a food processor, and I put them in there. And last year I did that, and I grew some really big tomatoes, and everything turned out just fine. I really didn't have any rot problems at all. This year here, I added a little more than what I normally would, and with rabbit manure, with alfalfa pellets, there's a lot of calcium there also. So I hope I don't have a problem with that. But here's another thing that I really have to watch. This is what concerns me. That is cracking, splitting of the skin. And so what happens is, like right now, we're in West Central Indiana, it's June, and it has been hotter than normal. Okay, yesterday it was 94. Today it was 92. The next 2 or 3 days it's going to be in the mid 90s. And so in Celsius, that's like 34, 35 degrees. And so what happens is, if you don't keep up on your watering and you get that hot, spell, and then you either get a rain or you give your tomato a lot of water, well, the fruit inside of it grows faster than the skin does. It sucks in all that water, the meat of the tomato, and it will split your skins. And so I have to think that trying to grow a 5-pound tomato, that problem is only going to be made worse than on a 1-pound tomato. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to water pretty much every night. Again, I'm only doing this with just a few plants, but I want that consistent watering where, I just don't get a lot of split tomatoes. And so that's something that I'm really going to have to, watch. Now, as I said before, please share in the comments what you think. This list that I'm giving you is not exhaustive. There might be something else that you think of, or if you have actually grown a 5-pound tomato, please share it in the comments. So let's go on to the third one. All right, so the last thing is trellising. Now, there's nothing new about what I'm doing here. I've done this for several years. I've used tomato cages. The only difference is I'm going to add more strands, and I'm going to put some more here and here, because when you get a really big tomato like that, I don't know where it's going to end up here, but I want to be able to support that plant right there by that tomato where, it doesn't want to, fall out, droop, And so that is something that I'm going to do a little bit different than what I've done in the past. But something that I've never done, I've never had to think about, is supporting the tomato itself. Once this thing gets up, 3-4 pounds, I would have to think that it's going to want to break off of that vine. And so I've got an idea on what I can do to support this tomato where it will still get air. Hopefully it won't keep it from, not growing or something. And so hopefully I get a tomato big enough that I can try this. And now, again, please share in the comments. Maybe I've left something out. Maybe I've totally forgot something. And again, I'm only going to do this with just a few plants. This is just one of them fun experiments that this is why I love gardening. You can come out here and try this stuff. And if it works, good. And if it doesn't, well, it's okay. The enjoyment of coming out here and doing this is what keeps me going. You know, just the idea of it is just so much fun. And I wish everybody would even just a little bit of a garden, something, a couple plants, because they would enjoy it so much. And it's a great stress reliever. You know, I wish everybody would at least give it a try. Well, that's the video, and let me know what you think. Please share in the comments. You guys, you have a good night, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.